Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I have some horror recommendations for you. Some of these are more popular, but all of them are that I have very much enjoyed. I have a very specific reading taste when it comes to horror. I like novellas, apprehension, and I love when someone is put in a very strange situation, but everyone around them is acting like everything is normal. I love those things, and if they're combined, even better. So the first recommendation that I have for you is Comfort Me with Apples. This is honestly what I would consider the epitome of my horror taste. Everything I just described as loving in horror, this has. So this is about a woman who is newly married, a homemaker wife. She stays at home. She lives in this gated community where all of the women stay at home. It's very Stepford-esque, and the one condition is that she never goes into the basement of her house. And she's never allowed to ask any questions, and she just follows the rules. And everything starts getting a little bit fishy from the start of the story. And again, it is one of those stories that is slowly building. Things are going wacky, and you don't know why they're going wacky. You don't know if it's the main character. You don't know if it's the world around them. You don't know, because everybody around them is acting like it's no big deal. So honestly, this is just my perfect horror story. I loved it so much, and I definitely recommend if you like similar things to me in horror. So next up, I want to recommend Nothing But Blackened Teeth. Now, this is not really similar to the previous one. This is a short horror novella. However, it is very much a haunted house story. So this is about a group of 5 friends who are going to a destination wedding at this haunted mansion in Japan. Their friend has decided that this is her dream location for her wedding. The house is said to be haunted by a woman who lost her fiance, and she was buried alive because she couldn't deal with the grief, and every year she takes the life of a young person to keep her company. And it's very much old Japanese horror. If you are a fan of Ring, if you are a fan of like that sort of environment, that sort of like description, then you will absolutely love this. It is fantastic. The writing is so beautiful, and it's just like all encompassing. You're just in the story. It's fantastic. So next up, I want to recommend Near the Bone. This is one of those very claustrophobic, apprehensive horrors. This is not short. I believe it's around 350 to 400 pages. This is about a woman who is, in the start of the story, foraging for some plants out in her cabin. She lives in a cabin with her husband in the mountains, and there's like nobody around for miles. And she sees this fox or something that is very weirdly ripped apart, and she knows that this thing was ripped apart by something different. She doesn't know if it's a person or what it is, but she knows that if she tells her husband, that he will get very angry. He is incredibly abusive. He's very controlling. She's not allowed to talk to strangers. She's not allowed to go out in public, and she's not allowed to question him, and if she does, in abusive episodes from him. So she tries to hide what happened, but she knows that something is going on, and if he finds out, and then he finds out that she knew, it'll be even worse. So she goes to him, and he decides that he's going to find out what did this thing, what ripped this thing apart, because if it's humans, he wants to scare them off so that they don't find their cabin. And it goes from there. Again, this is very apprehensive. This becomes a survival story, very reminiscent of No Exit. This woman is in a snowy mountain trying to escape from not only her abusive husband, but this creature that we don't really know what it is, and it's just a beautifully done story. It's so fast-paced, and it makes your heart race because you don't know what's going on, if she's gonna get caught at any moment. Is the thing behind her the creature or her husband? Which one is worse? Like, it's just very well done. So then we have Jane Doe, and this is actually a new to me horror author. I discovered his books on KU, and he has an anthology collection, I believe, of all of his short story collections, and this is the first one. I don't want to go too in depth into what it is about because it is only about 80 pages, but I will give you the briefest of synopses. It is about a man who is a serial killer, and he kidnaps people via taxi, and he kidnaps this woman named Jane Doe. He locks her in his renovated basement, chains her to the wall, and the next morning he wakes up and he is in his car. His hands are covered in blood, and he's out in the middle of nowhere. And when he gets back to his house, his neighbor says, "Hey, there's something dripping out of the back of your trunk." He opens the trunk and there's a body there, and he doesn't remember how it got there. And that's all I will say. I highly recommend if you are into very weird, extreme horror. It's called extreme horror, but I think of all of the collections, of all of the novellas in this collection, it's more weird and unsettling and a little like gag worthy than extreme in the way that it will make you uncomfortable, if that makes sense. And then the last recommendation that I have for you is actually a manga. So if you are a manga fan and for some reason you haven't read this one yet, I highly recommend. It is Blood on the Tracks. Again, I don't want to go too in depth into this because this is definitely one of those that I want you to go in with as little information as possible because it is absolutely mind-fucky. But it is about this boy who has this very strange relationship with his mother, and everybody just calls her very overprotective. And that is all I will say. This is very slow, very creeping, very nerve-wracking, and then there's a reveal at the end of each volume that is just so fantastic, and I highly recommend. So those are all of the horror recommendations that I have for you today. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on anything that I talked about in this video or any recommendations that you have for me. I would love to know. If you don't have anything to say, leave a house emoji for a haunted house down in the comments. I will catch you guys in my next one, and thanks so much for watching.